Some called him a sinner, only knew him for his sins. Some called him a saint because they knew where that cash went. They say you can buy salvation, that ain't how it works. But if you ask that congregation Sunday morning in the brand new church, they'd say, bless the man with the still in the holler, turning corn into shine, shine into dollars. Unholy water flowing like milk and honey, built that Lord's house with the devil's money.
Hello, and welcome to 7WoveN StatiC, Episode 5, ArchiveD EchoeS. I'm your host, David Jr. You just heard Mary Cutter's original single that launched January 17th of this year, 2024, entitled Devil's Money. I'm not really much on TikTok. I just pop in, check messages, and just kind of get the hell out of there before getting sucked down a black hole of funny videos and cool stuff. Mary Cutter's music video popped up on my feed, and I found the song Something Curious for me to listen to. I messaged her to see if she would like to be a featured artist for this episode 5. I really didn't expect a reply back. I sent messages to a wide list of local talented artists here in Texas I already know, but got a message back from her saying, whoa, that could be super fun. So I'm honored and much gratitude I can feature Mary Cutter's song Devil's Money right here on 7WoveN StatiC. You can check out more of Mary Cutter's music on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube, damn this girl's busy, TikTok, iHeartRadio, and Pandora at Mary Cutter. That's at MaryKutter. Thank you again, Mary, and keep on rocking. Now to the feature stories. What to expect in this episode. I'm a horror fan of found footage, security cam footage, GoPro first-person view, diary entries that are a document or visual aid to something out of this world, haunting, and strange to those unlucky or lucky enough to find. The stories featured in this episode are going to be a depiction of such. So let's get to it. This is 7WoveN StatiC, Episode 5, ArchiveD EchoeS. Episode 5, Story 1, Sally House Tapes. In the town of Atchison, Kansas, the Sally House stood as an infamous beacon of the paranormal. Its legend whispered in hushed tones by locals. It was here that Jacob Marley, an enthusiastic and somewhat brash ghost hunter, decided to embark on his most daring investigation. Jacob was known for his popular YouTube channel where he delved into the supernatural. His followers loved his daring approach, but the Sally House was different. It was said to be haunted by the spirit of a little girl named Sally and other dark entities. The house's history was marred with tales of unexplained injuries, apparitions, and malevolent acts. The night of October 5th was when Jacob entered the house, camera in hand. The footage, later found by a group of teenagers, was disturbing and puzzling. Tape 1, Entry and Exploration. The first tape showed Jacob entering the house, his usual confident demeanor slightly faltering. The rooms were dark, lit only by his flashlight. He spoke to his viewers, introducing the house's grim history. As he moved through the dark hallways, strange noises echoed of soft whispers, faint giggles, and sudden cool drafts. But Jacob pressed on. Tape 2, The Seance Room. Jacob set up his equipment in what he called the seance room. Here, he attempted to communicate with an Ouija board. The planchette moved erratically, spelling out leave. Jacob, ever the skeptic, laughed it off. Then objects in the room started moving on their own, and a child's laughter could be heard. The tape abruptly ended with the camera falling to the floor. Tape 3. The Encounter. This tape was the most unsettling. It began with Jacob visibly shaken, whispering about seeing a figure of a little girl in the corner. The camera panned to an empty corner, but there was a palpable sense of something unseen. Jacob started talking to the air, pleading for a sign. A sudden shriek filled the audio and the camera spun as if Jacob was running. His panicked breaths were the only sound until a thud was heard, and then silence. Tape 4. The Final Moments. The final tape was mostly static, but voices could be heard. Jacob's voice was among them, filled with terror, begging for something to stop. There were other voices too, angry and distorted. The camera showed brief flashes of the house's interior, rooms Jacob hadn't explored before. Then a final scream, a visage of a twisted, angry face, and then footage ended. Jacob Marley was never found. The Sally house remained a mystery, its secrets locked within its walls. The found footage only added to its terrifying legend, leaving more questions than answers. Was Jacob a victim of the supernatural forces within the house, or was it his mind playing tricks on him in that isolated, eerie environment? The tapes, now a part of local lore, continue to haunt those who dared to watch them as a reminder of the unknown lurking in the shadows of the Sally house. Episode 5, Story 2, Alice. In the heart of a bustling city, the police department was gripped by a series of bizarre and brutal murders. Each crime scene was more perplexing than the last, with no discernible pattern or motive. The only lead was a young teenage girl, Alice, found near the latest crime scene. She seemed too far frail and innocent to be involved in such heinous acts, yet she was the only link they had. Detective John Reynolds and Maria Gomez were tasked with interrogating Alice. They were seasoned officers, having seen the dark underbelly of the city, but nothing could prepare them for what was about to unfold. The interrogation room. The room was stark with a single table and 3 chairs. Alice sat quietly with her eyes downcast. The detectives began their questioning gently, trying to ease into the conversation. However, every couple of minutes, Alice's voice would change dramatically from soft and timid to deep and menacing, and then back again. Each shift brought a chill to the room, unsettling the detectives. As the interrogation progressed, the camera recording the session started to malfunction. The screen would flicker to black intermittently, each blackout lasting longer than the last. During these moments, Alice's demeanor seemed to shift in unnerving ways, her posture and expressions changing drastically. The unseen force. Suddenly, during one of the blackouts, a loud crash echoed through the room. When the camera flickered back to life, Detective Reynolds was found slumped against the wall, a deep gash on his forehead. Gomez called for backup, her voice laced with panic. Another blackout hit, this time lasting for several minutes. When the feed returned, Gomez was lying on the ground, unconscious, her arm twisted at an unnatural angle. The room was in disarray, chairs overturned, papers scattered, but Alice was nowhere to be seen. The door, which had been locked from the outside, remained undisturbed. The aftermath. Backup arrived to a scene of chaos. Reynolds and Gomez were rushed to the hospital, both in critical condition. An extensive search was initiated for Alice, but it was as if she had vanished into thin air. The recording of the interrogation was reviewed, but each blackout left a gap in the footage, offering no clues. The case remained unsolved, shrouded in mystery and fear. Whispers circulated among the police force about the girl with the changing voices, the inexplicable injuries, and the vanishing act that defied explanation. Some believe Alice was not of this world, a vessel for something more sinister. Others thought it was a setup, a ploy by someone else pulling the strings. But the truth remained elusive, buried in the shadows of that interrogation room, leaving behind a legacy of fear and unanswered questions. The story of Alice and the detectives became an urban legend, a tale of the unexplainable and the horrific, forever haunting the halls of the police department. Episode 5, Story 3, Shadow in the Sky. In the small town of Clearwater, the annual football game was the highlight of the year. This time, the event organizers decided to add an extraordinary spectacle. A group of extreme skydivers would leap from a plane performing aerial acrobatics before landing in the stadium to kick off the game. The town was abuzz with excitement. The skydivers, known as the Sky Demons, were famous for their death-defying stunts. As game night arrived, the stadium was packed, the crowd's anticipation palpable under the bright lights. As the plane soared above the stadium, the skydivers prepared for their jump. Among them was Alex, the youngest and most daring of the group. The audience watched, necks craned, as the skydivers leaped from the plane, their colorful parachutes blooming in the night sky. But something was wrong. A massive dark shape swooped in from the darkness, its enormous wings casting a shadow over the parachutes. The crowd gasped in terror as a creature, a behemoth of the night sky, snatched the first skydiver, then the second, each screaming for their lives. Its form was indistinct, a nightmare come to life, its eyes glowing like hot coals. Panic ensued the stadium. People screamed and fled in all directions, trying to escape the horrors unfolding above them. Alex, still high in the air, witnessed his teammates being taken by the beast. He twisted and turned, maneuvering with all his skill to evade the creature. His heart pounded in his ears as he dodged the monster's grasping talons by mere inches. Alex realized that the beast seemed repelled by the bright lights of the stadium. He aimed for the center of the field, the lights acting as his beacon of safety. With the creature screeching in frustration, Alex landed in the middle of the field, collapsing as he hit the ground. The stadium lights blazed like a fortress against the darkness, keeping the winged beast at bay. The creature circling above, a terrifying sentinel before retreating into the night sky, its prey out of reach. The stadium was in chaos, the game forgotten. Emergency services swarmed the area, tending to the shocked and injured. The town of Clearwater was left to grapple with the unfathomable event they had witnessed. The disappearances of the skydivers remained a mystery, with only Alex's harrowing tale to a hint at the truth. In the days that followed, the story of the skydivers and the beast became a legend. Some speculated it was a creature of folklore, awakened from its slumber. Others thought it was a figment of collective hysteria. But for Alex and the town of Clearwater, the terror was all too real. A reminder of the unknown horrors lurking in the depths of the night sky. Episode 5, Story 4, The Last Journal. In the world ravaged by a zombie apocalypse, Jonathan Blake found himself alone, holed up in a derelict farmhouse. He had survived the initial chaos, the fall of cities, and the loss of his family. Now he faced his final challenge, not from the world outside, but from within. Jonathan had been bitten. He knew what that meant. He decided to document his final days in a journal, a testament to his final moments of humanity. Day 1, the bite. I've been bitten. It happened so fast. One moment I was scavenging for supplies, the next I was wrestling with the snarling, rotten mess that used to be a human. I managed to get away, but not before it took a chunk out of my arm. The wound is bad. I've cleaned it, but we all know what happens next. I'm going to write here for as long as I can. Day 2, the fever. The fever started today. It's like my blood is boiling. I'm trying to keep my mind focused, but it's hard. I keep thinking about my wife, Sarah, and my little girl, Emily. They're gone now, taken by this cursed plague. I hope they didn't suffer. I hope they didn't turn into one of them. Day 3, memories and hallucinations. I'm seeing things, people, faces from my past. They're talking to me, blaming me. The pain is unbearable. I can feel something inside me changing, twisting. It's like there's another person in my head screaming to get out. I'm scared, not of dying, but of becoming of one of those monsters. Day 5, losing myself. My thoughts are scattered. It's hard to write. My hand doesn't seem like it's my own. It's pale, discolored. I caught a glimpse of myself in a broken mirror. I barely recognized the face staring back. My eyes, they're not mine anymore. Day 6, the last goodbye. This will be my last entry. I can feel it. I'm not me anymore. The thing inside is taking over. I locked myself in the cellar. I don't want to hurt anyone. If anyone finds this, remember me as I was, not as what I've become. Tell my story. Maybe it'll be a warning, maybe a reminder of what we were, what we've lost. I'm sorry, Sarah. Emily, I love you. Goodbye. The journal was found years later by scavengers, the words fading on the brittle pages. Jonathan's story became a reminder of the countless personal tragedies in the world overturned by the undead. His final act of locking himself away, a testament to his humanity, which he preserved until the end. In a world of monsters, Jonathan Blake remained a man to the very end. Episode 5, Story 5, Forbidden Trails of NASA's Back Acres. In the dense forest that bordered NASA's restricted lands, 4 friends, Mike, Sarah, Jake, and Lena, embarked on a hiking adventure, each wearing a GoPro to document their journey. Their fascination with the unknown led them to venture close to the area known as NASA's Back Acres, a place rumored to be shrouded in mystery. As they delved deeper into the woods, the atmosphere grew eerie. The trees seemed to close in around them, and an unnerving silence hung in the air. Mike's GoPro, the discovery. Mike's camera captured the moment they stumbled upon the chilling scene. A clearing with strange symbols etched into the ground and candles flickering in the dim light. In the center lay a young woman, bound to a table, her eyes wide with fear. The group was horrified but sprang into action. As they untied the woman, she whispered warnings of a cult that performed rituals in these woods. Sarah's GoPro. The chase. Sarah's camera showed the panic that ensued as they heard voices and footsteps approaching. The group, now 5, ran through the thick underbrush, the cult members in close pursuit. Their chants and the crackling of torches filled the night air. The woman they have saved knew the woods well and led them through hidden paths, but the cultists seemed to know every twist and turn. Jake's GoPro. The separation. Jake's camera captured the heart-stopping moment when he tripped, causing the group to scatter. His breaths came in gasps as he tried to find his friends, the camera jerking wildly as he ran. Suddenly, he was cornered by hooded figures. His camera caught glimpses of their twisted mass before it abruptly went black. Lena's GoPro. The escape. Lena's footage was frantic. She, Mike, Sarah and the woman they rescued were running for their lives. They could hear Jake's distant screams, filling them with dread that fueled their escape. Lena's camera showed them bursting through the tree line onto the road, where they flagged down a passing car. As they drove away, the lights of the car revealed the haunting image of robed figures standing at the forest edge, watching silently. The footage from the GoPros was found scattered in the woods, pieced together to tell a horrifying tale. Jake was never found again. The woman they saved disappeared before the authorities could question her, adding another layer of mystery to the chilling events. The hikers' encounter became a cautionary tale about the dangers lurking in the unexplored corners of the world, and the unspeakable horrors that could be hidden just beyond the tree line. Episode 5, Story 6, Parallel Hauntings.
It's not supposed to rain here.
Josh and Annie, a couple separated by distance, relied on nightly FaceTime calls to stay connected. Josh lived in a bustling city while Annie resided in a quiet suburban town. One night, the routine call transformed into an experience that would haunt them forever. Josh's perspective. Josh's apartment was usually filled with the sound of the city, but that night, an unsettling silence pervaded. As he chatted with Annie, a cold breeze swept through his room despite all the windows being closed. He joked about it to Annie, trying to shake off the unease. The camera on his phone captured his increasingly nervous glances as objects in his room began to subtly move, a book falling off the shelf, a picture frame tilting on the wall. He tried to rationalize it, blaming the wind, but a sense of dread was present. Annie's perspective. Annie's, on her end, laughed off Josh's comments, attributing them to his overacting imagination. However, her laughter soon turned to confusion. Her lights flickered, and she heard faint whispers, though she was alone. The room temperature dropped rapidly, and her breath became visible in the air. Her phone's camera showed her moving around the room, trying to locate the source of the whispers. Each time she looked away from the phone, the camera picked up shadowy movements in the background. Their attempt at reassurance turned frantic as both experienced intensifying disturbances. They saw each other's fear through their screens, helpless to do anything. Suddenly, Josh's screen went dark, and Annie heard a loud crash through her phone. Panicking, she called out to him, but there was no response. Her own surroundings then started to unravel as objects began to move with great force. In a moment of terror, Annie's phone too fell, the screen cracking as it hit the floor. Both cameras, now lying on the ground, captured a chilling sight. In Josh's apartment, a dark humanoid figure loomed over the phone, its eyes fixated on the screen. Similarly, in Annie's house, an identical entity appeared, its gaze locked onto her phone. For a brief moment, the figures seemed to acknowledge each other through the screen, a sinister understanding passing between them. As viewers pieced together the footage, it became clear that these haunting figures were not bound by location. They were a shared terror, manifesting simultaneously in both places. The story ends with a jaunting image of these figures staring into the cameras, a chilling reminder of the unseen horrors that can bridge any distance, leaving only questions and fear in their wake. Episode 5, Story 7, Nevo, Part 2. David was a rational man, a father dedicated to his 7-year-old daughter, Nevo. Her imaginative tales often amused him, but things changed when she began talking about a new friend, a young girl named Eve, who David assumed was imaginary. Nevo described Eve in vivid detail, claiming she was a girl from a time long past. David indulged his daughter's stories, attributing them to her creative mind. However, he couldn't ignore the strange occurrences that began to unfold around their home. Objects moved on their own, cold drafts appeared from nowhere, and Nevo seemed to converse with thin air, her conversations growing increasingly serious and emotional. David's skepticism wavered when he started witnessing unexplainable phenomena. He heard giggles and whispers when Nevo was not around, and once he glimpsed the shadowy figure of a young girl in the mirror. These events pushed him to explore the history of their old family house, where he stumbled upon a tragic tale. The house, it turned out, had once been home to a young girl named Eve who lived over a century ago. She had died under mysterious circumstances, her spirit lingering, lost and alone. David realized that Eve's spirit had connected with Nevo, seeking solace and friendship. As Nevo's communication with Eve deepened, a darker presence made itself known. Objects began to fly across the room, sinister whispers filled the night, and Eve's once friendly demeanor turned sorrowful and scared. David understood that another entity was at play, a malevolent force that had been keeping Eve's spirit trapped in the house. Determined to help Eve find peace, David turned to Nevo's psychic abilities. They decided to hold a seance to communicate directly with Eve and confront the dark presence. As they sat in the candlelit room, Nevo's voice changed, taking on a tone that belonged to another era. Through Nevo, Eve revealed that she had been bound by the house by a vengeful spirit, a former resident who had harbored a deep-seated grudge against Eve's family. This spirit had grown stronger over time, feeding off the fear and confusion of those who lived in the house. In a tense battle of wills, David and Nevo, aided by Eve's spirit, faced the dark entity. Nevo, speaking words that seemed to flow from another world, commanded the spirit to leave. A violent gush swept through the house, shaking its very foundations. Then, as quickly as it started, the chaos ceased. In the aftermath, they felt a sense of peace envelop the house. Eve's spirit, finally free from the malevolent force, appeared to Nevo one last time. She smiled and thanked them before fading away, her form dissolving into light. Life returned to normal for David and Nevo, but they were forever changed. David had developed a newfound respect for the unknown, and Nevo's gift had grown stronger, yet she no longer spoke of spirits. The house felt warmer, the air lighter, as if it too was relieved to let go of its dark past. The story of David and Nevo became a testament to the power of belief, the strength of family bonds, and the enduring nature of the human spirit. You just listened to 7WoveN StatiC, Episode 5, ArchiveD EchoeS. Special thanks to the featured composers as heard in order: Wilderness by Serge Anto, Cypher by Sam Marshall, Breaking News by Jumbo, Rockstone by D. Kimbo, Aggressor by Sam Marshall, Corridors by Sam Marshall, Outer Space Encounter by Dr. Phil, Rainy Tuesday in LA by Sleeping Lion, and Tranquillo by Symphonic Planet. Thank you all for your amazing work. Special thanks to Mary Cutter for featured artists for this episode. And last but not least, thank you, the listeners and supporters of my project here with 7WoveN StatiC. Stay tuned. Playing this episode out is Mary Cutter's original single, Devil's Money. Till next time, bye y'all.
Bardstown, Kentucky, in the middle of the 20s, somewhere between heaven and hell. Great granddaddy was a deacon, but he struggled breaking even till he started running bottles out the Bible Belt. Some called him a sinner, only knew him for his sins. Some called him a saint because they knew where that cash went. They say you can buy salvation, that ain't how it works. up like Rockefeller, you can judge him, but he did some good. Using outlaw cash for pews and stained glass like a righteous man.